Fletcher. Now sit back and prepare to be entertained.
Oh shit, we're back. Welcome to the Dripping Bucket podcast with your hosts, Krystle Matar and some guy who doesn't know how to turn the color back on his camera. And we are joined today by AC Cross, author of Where Blood Runs Gold, The Boddicker Letters, Zoo, and a couple other novels, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And today we're just going to chat with AC about his journey as a self-published author. He has promised to spill the details, where the bodies are buried, and all of that.
How many skeletons in the closet, etc.
Many skeletons. I'm not sure they're in the closet, though. Anyway, AC Cross, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you much for having me.
So let's launch into this. What was your first published self-published novel? Yeah, sorry, a little dry.
We're too professional for too long.
What sort of pushed you into self-publishing? How did you get your start? What's up?
Yeah. So my first self-published book is actually kind of a spy thriller comedy called Robocopter Ski Patrol.
Okay.
And that came about.
I know you from Where the Blood Runs Gold, so I didn't know there was stuff before that.
Yeah. So Where Blood Runs Gold is my first quote-unquote serious book.
Okay.
But I wrote 3 others that are in the Roboverse that are the comedies.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and that's how it kind of started. Interestingly, in that when I was living in Atlanta after my undergrad, was my friend and I wrote a few plays, and we did a play like competition sort of thing in Atlanta. It was just this cool little thing, and again, comedy, ridiculous, really dated now. Like even a couple years after, it was already like nuts. Going like part of the plot revolves around like a video store. It's like, well, that's dead.
Remember those things?
I know. Again, I'm old. But I was like, the kind of nugget of the Robocopter thing was fun. I was like, well, let's see if I can do a book out of this. And then it just kind of built and built and built, and I was like, you know what? Let's get this done. Let's publish it. Let's see what happens. Like, it is. I didn't pay for a cover art. I literally drew the entire cover art myself. It is horrendous. Oh. It's like a 5-minute sketch of a helicopter. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then I did a couple others in that universe, and I still have a few in the queue for whenever I can be funny again. But yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, those
though,
kind of.
like...
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of only manage it accidentally. I don't think I've ever intentionally been funny in a book. It's kind of like a character says something, and I'm like, oh shit, that guy was witty.
I recognize that person. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, same. Oh, intentional comedy is hard.
It really is. It takes a lot of. You either have to be really careful with it, or just not care at all.
Yeah.
And just go completely at it. Like, you can get a decent sense of it, like my comedy by like my memes on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing is like, it's just like chaos from start to finish.
Is it funny, or do I have trauma now? At least your memes.
I mean, that really kind of depends.
Both is
yeah,
good.
it's really a flip of the coin either day, like what I post each day.
So what year was your first book released?
That one came out in 2013.
Oh wow.
And then the second one, Untitled Spy Story, a novel, came out in 2015. And then the third one, let's see, I'm trying to remember the exact title because it's long. Rubens Cube, Alaska, Bullet Point 2, Judgment Day, This Time for Real. Or This Time It's Real.
Yep, that's a comedy
If
novel.
you say it, if you try to say it out loud, it sounds like you're having a stroke.
Just
like
totally unconnected thoughts that are just kind of tumbling out. Yeah, that sets the tone well for a comedy novel, I think. Like if you can't quite remember
there's nothing serious.
Yeah.
What was interesting for the comedy ones is that by and large, like 95% of them is just ridiculous, but then like 5% is deadly serious. And I was like, it's interesting. Like, it gives a different kind of punch to it.
Yeah,
like when it's all funny.
It's like it's the inverse of, comedy in a grimdark novel to break the tension. Where like in the comedy novel you need some gravity to it to like ground you back into like a palate cleanser, and then you can roll into the next totally ridiculous thing that
exactly
crops up. Yeah, that makes sense. So there you go, Fletcher. That explains why you're only about 5% funny and
5%. If I'm lucky, 5 is a stretch. Like 100,000 word novel. I think I might have like 7 funny words.
So we're rounding up to 5%. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It's a lot of rounding up. So 2013. That was I think before I was published at all. And I think early days for self-publishing, right? How is that?
Yeah,
how things sort of
the bad old
changed
days, or the good old days, depending on who you ask.
It was interesting. I put Robocopter into Spiffbo 4.
Oh wow.
Which was interesting. I was around for the early Spiffbos and the insane drama that happened with those. I was fully aware of those, which is fascinating. But I actually kind of got hooked up with the self-published indie community. A friend of mine from college was friends with Jonathan French.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And
French,
and so she
Bastard.
put us in contact, and Jonathan's a great dude. We chatted for a while, and he went his own way on social media, which is totally cool. I respect the heck out of. To kind of get away from that. But yeah, it was just kind of like a step by step, and then just kind of get into like, Esme Weatherwax and Dirk Ashton and all those. It kind of just like snowballed into having these weird connections.
Yeah. I can relate to that for sure. Yeah, because my weird connection was Clayton, and then that doomed me. I mean,
it's a very
launched my career.
Well, that's the fun thing about Clayton is we live about 2 hours apart.
Oh, neat.
Are you North Dakota as well, or somewhere near
I
there?
am. I am in North Dakota. Yeah, we're about 2 hours apart. Both write kind of dark novels. Both write like dark westerns. One of us is successful, and it's not me, but I get it.
He wouldn't call himself successful either. Although I would argue, both of you are doing better.
He's only had 2 books
for.
in the Spiffbo finals.
Yeah,
like he's doing terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you pivoted out of comedy and into and then was the next publishing venture the stuff that I'm familiar with like where the
it was, and I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of exactly how that happened. It was more and more like I want to try something different. Like comedy is fun, but when you're not feeling funny, it's impossible to write.
Be, a lot like pulling teeth out of
So I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And then I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, nice.
I was playing and I was like, I love this so much. Like, I love this kind of Western gritty world. I was like, okay, well, let's start playing around with this and see, like, have an Arthur Morgan type character, see what we can do with that. I was like, but I gotta do something different. Like, I gotta do something weird with it. Like, there's gotta be something dark and ominous with it. And this kind of built and built and built from there.
And so the newer stuff, and so you sort of see, it sounds like you're sort of treading a line between fantasy and
horror, I think.
science fiction, horror, cyberpunk-y kind of stuff. Like here's shotgun. You're like, I'm gonna get all the genres.
Yeah.
Oh, and comedy. I forgot that one.
It's kind of ridiculous because where Blood Runs Gold, I would say it's, fantasy western, weird western. Zoo is just like this kind of autobiographical, emotional thing that I basically puked out in like a week. And then BODDICKER Letters is straight up Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
And then I've got just works in progress. Like I've got the whole, more in the Where Blood Runs Gold universe. I've got another Lovecraftian one I'm working on. I've got this fantasy circus one. I've got the cyberpunk one. It is straight up bonkers how many different weird stories I have just like half scribbled down in my computer. It's got to be crazy to see.
I think that's very much like the heart and soul of indie, though. Like it's all the weird what's the expression, the redheaded stepchild project. Except every single one of our projects are redheaded stepchildren, and they're not in anybody's family, but that is the family. You know what I mean? I
totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So then I guess like if you're spreading across so many genres just in your own work, if we go back a bit and talk about influences, I'm gonna hazard the guess that there's been a lot of different influences for you. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can look back to like Terry Pratchett for the comedy stuff. Like Archer, that TV show, was a big one on the comedy ones. But then again, like Red Dead Redemption and kind of those old gritty western like Cormac McCarthy with those. And then I mean, obviously Lovecraft, the whole cosmic horror thing is apparently my jam right now. And then D&D is huge. Has definitely influenced a ton of it. Yeah, it's just been kind of like this mishmash of just these different like bits and pieces I pick out. I mean, some songs even or some music tends to like kind of burrow its way into my books to kind of give a little more detail or a little kind of flesh out universes a little bit more. There's a specific scene in Where Blood Runs Gold where there's like this pair of bank robbers, and if you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it, but that was very much inspired by a song. Like the entire kind of vignette was basically inspired by a song. So it was like, yeah, okay, we're just going to put that in.
You can't leave us hanging like that. Which song?
Yeah, so there is a metal band called Alan Land. It was a mix of Yorlanda and Russell Allen from Symphony X. I'm a metal freak. And they did a song called Bloodlines. And it's like you listen to it, it's like, oh, this is a good song. Then you listen to it more, like the lyrics just kind of spool out. It's like, oh, this is like, there's something really dark there. I thought that was really
I love that feeling. Yeah, I can see how that spawns like a whole vignette into a novel, like that feeling of the slow creep of dread. A little bit. Yeah.
And sometimes just like a single line in a song is almost enough to just sort of trigger an idea for a whole novel. Like I know I've had that happen, a couple of times where it's like actually A War to End All is actually a misheard lyric from a song.
That's so Fletcher.
And I was like, fuck, that is perfect. That is such a great title.
So which song was that now? You guys keep leaving me out.
I can't remember. That's it. It's like some thrash metal band. And I think they were chanting like a war to end all, a war to end all, a war to end all wars. And I just got the first part. And it was like a war to end all. I'm like, yeah.
You stopped listening. You liked what you heard. You stopped listening.
I was too busy thinking about, that as being a sort of like theme for a book.
There you go. So which series is that? No, I'm interviewing the wrong person now. Shut up, Fletcher. So So you talk about how like it started for you. You were writing plays rather than novels, but I'm curious. Like, there seems to be two camps of people that like people who were born writing, and then there's people that come to it later and kind of discover it as a part of themselves later in life. And I'm curious if you're one of the fellow I've been doing this as long as I've been breathing type people, or if you're the latter.
No, I'm definitely was born born a writer. Like one of my favorite stories from my parents was when I was about 2, I just knew how to read. Like it wasn't like figure this out. It's just like okay, I just know.
Yeah, precocious reader. Yeah.
So that was neat. And then my first book I wrote was in middle school, and that is under lock and key because I'm pretty sure that it's like gonna end the world if it gets out to the general public. It's so bad. Like I'd have to change my name, go into hiding.
I don't know. Everybody's so embarrassed about the books that they wrote as children, but I feel like we're allowed to write really bad books when we're that young. Like, we don't actually expect 10-year-olds or however old to come up with literary.
It's just looking back on them, like, what? No, like, there's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this. It's just, like, you know, it's okay to... It's okay to crawl before you walk.
Okay.
But this is more like tumbling headfirst down the stairs and trying to go back to the top and figure out how to walk like that.
Some kids do learn how to walk like that, so
yeah.
I don't know, it works. So I guess it must have felt inevitable to you that eventually this would be books that you could sell.
Yeah, ideally, it was just like I loved creating. Just, I mean, not even so much as a writing thing. It's just the creating component from, like, again, when I was little, my brother and I would put on plays for my parents. And I'd come up with them, and then I Shanghai my brother into helping me out with them. And it was just like, I want to make something. I want to create something. I wanted to, you know, entertain people, to make people... you know, feel something. Even back then, I don't think I recognized it, but I think it was there.
I'm guessing you were probably the GM when you were playing D&D.
You know, I have DM'd a few times, and it's been fun. I tend to be the dad character, or the dad one, because the rest of my party is like chaos gremlins. So I tend to be like I was the paladin. My longest campaign that I was in, I was a paladin named Sir Darius Branislav. It was a cool name. It was a cool character. I was like, yes, this is awesome. The first damn thing that happens to me in the entire campaign is I'm trying to cross a river and I lose my boot. And for the rest of the campaign, I am now Buddhisov. 2 years. It's just like, well, there's nothing you can do at that point.
It feels so true to life, though. Like, that's absolutely how people get their soldier names and their, you know, their warrior names. Like, fantasy likes to make up this version where everybody gets really badass names, but Buddhislav, that tracks to me.
It was just, we thought it was like, oh, there's gonna be this cool, you know, hardcore. No, just that's what you're stuck with now. But then we're always just hard. We're hard on our DMs in the way that it's not like, it's not mean, but it's exhausting because we're, like, case in point. I know we're getting a little off track here, but in the very first campaign I did with my group. My DM had set up this huge, like, it was a hedge maze. It was like, this is a cool thing to kind of get through so we can get to the big bad. There was also a wall in the middle of it that we realized, like, you have to get wet to, you know, to kind of get it to split, you can walk through. Now, most parts. You're like, oh, we'll splash water on it. We all peed on it.
Yeah,
which
classic.
that already made her angry. And then we're like, you know what? We're in this hedge maze and we don't want to be here. The best way out is fire. So we set the hedge maze on fire and just burned it down so we could walk into the tower with the big bad. And kind of as a coup de grace, we've somehow managed to corner the big bad in a corner of the room where any way she tried to turn, we were getting an attack of opportunity.
Oh, smart.
Every single way. So this like, big bad character that we've been going after for this whole thing, like 4 rounds and she's down.
I feel like that's such a poignant analogy for just trying to write in general, especially if you do like a big cast of characters.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you're thinking like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then that'll make this happen, and then the book will be done, and it's gonna be easy. And then you set those little fuckers loose, and it's not easy.
Yeah. It's also a reason to have scenes where there's this huge buildup, and then they just kill the guy and move on, and there's nothing. It's like, yeah, sorry, buddy, that's life.
Yeah.
I am never in control of my characters. I have accepted this at this point. Is I am not writing. I am transcribing.
Yeah, writing up the incident report. You're the police officer.
It's like they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
I feel that. I feel that in my bones. I'm very tired.
All right, so it looks like we're hitting about the 20-minute mark. We usually try and keep these short and sweet. Yeah. We're going to wrap it up here, and AC Cross will join us again on some future random episode. Who knows?
Possibly the next one you watch, but who knows? Maybe I'll randomly insert a bunch of other people in between, like I did to Clayton.
Oh, madness. So thank you for joining us, and it's been a pleasure hanging out with you.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
Thanks very much.